Okay. I'm in a very noisy place, so I might have to shout a lot. These guys, they won't stop what they are doing. I've been asking them. Before I start, I need to thank all my translators. They have been working very hard. Some of them, they have to wake up at odd hours. So thank you. Also, thank you for organizing this. And I am probably the worst person talking about how to have fun, because I'm always so stressed. I'm very tense. And I'm always scheduling, like writing down my schedules. I'm writing down about what I will do next year. Even the dates are confirmed. And then daily schedules. So I don't know whether I don't think I'm the right person to talk about how to have fun. But I'll try to share what I think, at least in theory. I've been thinking about what to say ever since this topic was chosen. I've been thinking what to say. This has been the most difficult, actually, because I think it's very complex and it's very, very complicated because there's so much contradiction. Can you hear me? Am I shouting too much so that it's like damaging your eardrum? I hope not. There's so much contradiction in our life, and many times the contradiction makes our life interesting. You know that, right? Without the contradiction, things become very bland and blasé and not interesting, not exciting. But when there's so much contradiction, and it becomes also painful. For instance, just to give you one example, I think to be silly is important. I think sometimes we should take shower with an umbrella. I think it actually is good for us, but we calculate too much. At least you should try, since we are, supposedly, planning to have fun today. Why not we try to have the shower with an umbrella or a raincoat, just for 2-3 minutes. So to be silly and to be serious, these two, like balancing, so difficult. And then also fun, I think, is so subjective, right? For some, to be alone is a fun. To be with others, you have to hang out with a lot of people. Also, in the morning, we like to be alone. And in the afternoon, because if you are alone too much, it gets so boring. So we need to hang out. And when you hang out with the people, that has its own problem, right? It's really tough. And as I said, fun is very, very relative. There are people who thinks to have a simplicity, a simple life is fun. I'll show you somebody here, look. And then there is some people who thinks life is more fun if they're organizing all the time, such as this person, constantly organizing, constantly on the phone. Just can't help it. Also, I think to be spontaneous is very important. To have fun, I think you need to have a considerable amount of being spontaneous. But when we were born from the mother, from the day one, we learned so hard not to be spontaneous. So we are under the spell of planning, like planning. And not just you, everybody's planning. And you can't move anything. I'm sure tonight, if some of you are planning to have some fun, see, planning to have fun. What an oxymoron. It's like, it's so tough even to have a picnic. You have to have somebody cutting the cucumber if you are having an English picnic. Cucumber, mayonnaise, sandwich, basket. Who's going to bring the blanket? Where to go? Will the weather be good? All this planning. And then usually when we have a group planning, there is always a Kim Jong-un. The group always have its own Kim Jong-un. It doesn't matter whether it's a forthright or a passive Kim Jong-un. There's always a dictator. And then, to be free and carefree, of course, we like that. Of course, who doesn't? But then we need to also, think about responsibility, right? Because if you don't think about the responsibility, then somehow your carefree always leads to something miserable later. All of us, we talk about do whatever we want to do. The world is free. Do whatever you want to do. Let's just be free. But this is easier said than done. You know that. Not that, it's difficult to do whatever you want to do. Because others also want to do whatever they want to do. That's why we can't do whatever we want to do. And then also, we love breaking rules. And I think it's good to break rules. It's good because sometimes breaking the rules is kind of fun. But you have to be careful because if you, mindlessly break rule, then you end up becoming a victim of situation or kind of situation. Because many times we are creatures who don't want to have any rules upon us, but we want to make the rule for others. And this usually spoils the fun, I think. So I will try my best to talk about how to really have fun. Well, as you know, I'm a Buddhist. So everything that comes from me has some sort of a influence with a Buddhist training or Buddhist teaching, okay? I think fundamental or the foundation of having a fun is having a sound observation when you are having the fun. It's like playing a game. When you are playing a game, it's good to remember that you are playing game. Sometimes we forget we are playing the game. And when we forget we are playing game, then we have a problem. Then fun is no more fun, right? So I think it's good in our life to have this observation, whatever you do. So it could be party, dinner, gathering, hanging out, going for a walk, being alone in a forest, reading a very complicated novel, listening to some touchy-feely music, eating your most craved food, or, as I said earlier, doing some silly things for your own amusement. But whenever you do that, I think it's good to remember that you are doing, observing and remembering that you are doing this for fun. We said this actually, this is just for fun. Let's do this for fun. We say this, actually, we do say this, but after a while, we forget that that's what we intended. So keep, I think, having this, what do you call it, observation, and trying not to take things too seriously probably is a good thing. This is why I chose a public kitchen to discuss about how to have fun instead of some traditional teaching setup. I hope it's not driving my translators too crazy. I think that's about all I can say. Okay, is there questions? What question can be there? You can sit. Okay, tell me, I have to listen.
So we are going to the first question. That is, Rinpoche, somebody asks, letting go of ego is so lonely and painful. How can we do that joyfully?
Letting go of ego is painful. Well, wow, that's a big question. I don't know how to answer that right away in this context. I mean, we are talking about fun, right? This is a big question and this needs a lot of training. I think if you can start to really train yourself, that big part of your life is run by your opinion, your own opinion, not just intellectually, but really emotionally, practically. This might help. Because many times we don't realize that it's just my own opinion. We always think it's it's real truth, isn't it? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Rinpoche. Another question is, how to understand contradiction can make life interesting?
Oh, well, if you listen to Dolly Parton, more than 50 times, I think you will realize this. It will get boring, so you need something else. So, yeah, this contradiction creates a lot of challenges because we like, choice. Okay.
How to have fun in a relationship?
I think giving the other the space and the freedom is so important, but I don't know whether we can actually, there is a contradiction here. When we talk about a relationship, a lot of people think it's actually like, lots of people think that, oh, really, I need to know the whereabout of this person, what he or she does, who is she or he calling. I don't know everything. Many people think that you need to control that person's life, isn't it? And many times people also like that because that people think it's kind of, fun and it's kind of, I don't know, for some people, maybe they think it's a kinky. You understand? But the problem is when it gets too much, when people are constantly stepping on your toes, and when you are losing your freedom, then I think the relationship usually fall apart. I would say giving a lot of space, each other, I think is a very, very important. I think that will make the relationship better. You see, it sounds ironic and it's very, what do you call it, contradictory, isn't it? I mean, relationship. The whole thing about the relationship is almost like not giving each other the space. Remember, relationship, you need to be in the one room I don't know, you need to probably even share one toothbrush, all of that, gelling together, like the rings, the engagement rings, I don't know, one roof, one bed, I don't know. But when there's too much of that, then everybody gets suffocated. And then, it's too complicated, human beings.
Okay, so there's another question. If we have too much fun and make everything a game, will it become too outrageous?
I would like to say there is no such thing as too much fun. I would say there's too much of just, forgetting that you are having fun, then there will be a problem, I think. If you forget you are having fun, then I think, yes, I, I think we should have, we definitely should have, some, basically, why should you go to all these universities? Just the whole reason why you should go and finish all these degrees is so that you can be prepared for the next toys and next fun, isn't it? So I think there is no such thing as too much fun, but yes, definitely there's a too much of forgetting that it is just a fun thing.
Okay. How to balance between making others happy and making myself happy?
Wow, some really big questions. I think it's a bit like, in the aeroplane, when they, the air hostess, when they teach us how to wear those oxygen masks, they said if you have people who are infant and, people who needs help, you should wear the oxygen mask first and then, help the others. So there is a little bit of that. I think it's important that we ourselves are confident. We ourselves are not a victim of our so-called kind and compassion. We need to be a little bit grounded. And then I think we should also help others. So that is important.
Okay. Another person asks, how can we have fun with karma?
With?
Karma.
Oh, the great thing about karma is it's manipulatable. You see, I think people thinking, oh, this is my karma, I'm stuck. Now you don't know how to have fun with the karma. This is my karma. I'm going to do something about this. Karma, this is a great thing about karma. It's a manipulatable. It's actually, you can cancel it even. I mean, you can even, abolish it. And there's so many techniques like that. For that. So this has always been something that I've been telling people. Karma should never be understood as some sort of a karma should never be understood as a predestined, rule or a law or a fact.
Somebody else asks, why is it more difficult to have fun as we grow older? I want to be a granny wearing purple and smoking cigars. How to make that easier?
What is it about cigar?
This person would like to, when they become older, when they are a grandmother, they want to be wearing purple and, smoke cigars and things like that. How to make that easier? How do you achieve this in life?
Well, Harper, let's do it. Begin doing it, closing the door. Don't let all these kids who laugh at you see first. Do it at home without anybody knowing. And then slowly, go out and show you. Yeah. I think you need to gain some confidence, right? Should be okay. Okay.
One last question, Rinpoche. It's somebody says in the Bardo teaching that you just gave a few days ago, you mentioned that ordinary people are fun suckers, constantly looking for interesting things. For a practitioner, an aspiring beginner bodhisattva, what kind of fun should we pursue? A yogi's fun or ordinary mundane fun or both? What should we pursue?
I think if you are doing what I was sort of suggesting, this observing, okay, I'm doing this. I'm just having, I'm basically not taking things too seriously, I guess. Then it doesn't matter what you do. Let's say you have a ticket for live game between Liverpool and Manchester. Who was it? Real Madrid game. You actually have the real ticket. And you have been planning to do this all this pandemic year. Finally, you can do it. But I don't know. Your bus from Beach to Kangra broke down or something. I don't know. This happens a lot here, by the way. And you miss the game. You And so this happens sort of. And I think, yeah, like that, you know what I mean? Something like this. It's tough though, especially if it is a ticket for Liverpool and Real Madrid game. My goodness, that's like, many people would be, like hitting themselves for years to come. But yeah, we could, I think, train our mind like this.
Okay, Rinpoche. Are you taking more questions or no?
I think this is enough because I don't know really how much to say about it. Is Tuku Ngawang from the Burmese Parshara who chose this subject. And he's much, much younger than me. And he really knows how to have fun. You guys, young people, you should really bother him. This question really should be answered by the Tuku Ngawang. He really knows how to have fun, not me. So I just want to say, I mean, Tuku Ngawang and Burmese Pasha group, you guys really have been doing so much without, like me or any other people, even not always, being there, but you guys have really taken initiative. People in, I don't know, everywhere. I really thank you for this. As you know, we have so much challenge in our life in the world today. So many people are anxious. So many people are afraid of, virus. So many people are afraid of, famine, inflation, war, geopolitical problems, and in the midst of all this, you guys are constantly reminding people to notice and remind us there's something called earth, Bhumis Pasha. And that's, really, this may sound very, very ordinary, but it's important that we sort of know that there's earth, we are sitting on it. And this is really, really important. And then big part of the earth, trees. And so many of you have planted trees, talked about trees, painted about trees, discussed about trees, sang tree songs. I thank you so much. Please keep on doing this. Since the world seems to be opening up a bit, very soon, of course, remember I was telling you earlier, there are people who are simple, they've chosen to be, like a Dutanga, Sannyasin, or a, monk. And then there are people who are constantly on phone planning something. So, there are people like Prashant who has been talking about Bhumis Parsha, organizing film festival, dance party, dance festivals, music festivals, and so on and so forth. And I want to really, it will be in Bir, it will be also in Bali, it will be, hopefully it will also be in, there's a place called Ilan in Taiwan, and maybe somewhere in Thailand. So I really hope that all of you participate this, and somehow, if you can't participate physically, at least participate with a big screen, so on and so forth. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rinpoche. May we have another chance to meet again. May we request for you to come back to give teaching through Bhumis Parsha platform. And thank you so much for Siddhartha's Intent for organizing this live stream, and for all of the translators for translating. And as Rinpoche said, Bhumis Parsha is an organization that is paying homage to and celebrating the Shakyamuni Buddha. And our goal collectively is to plant 84,000 trees. And as of May this year, so this month, we have counted 74,853 trees planted. So we are very, very close to the goal of 84,000 trees. Hopefully you can join us to continue in this effort. And planting a tree with your family and your friends is a fun activity to do. and will make the earth a little greener and a little healthier. So may we all be able to enjoy the benefits of being on this earth for years to come. So please join us in this effort, and don't forget to have fun